and a big hello. It's 17th of September 2018, and in September, schools, colleges, universities, workplaces, you name it, they all do things, which usually means communicating. So this is a video to help you use Google Slides, and I'm calling it View Options in Google Slides, because there's a couple of little predictable things, and there is a couple of things which is View Full Screen, which I have starred, and I've also starred speaker notes because they're really useful. As a teacher myself, getting the message out is pretty important, but recording my screen can be done in a million different ways. Okay, not a million, but less than that. Let's work through them, shall we? So the classic, shall we say, in Google Slides is to present, and I put edit preview. Let me show it. So you go up to present in the normal way, and it looks like that. I've covered this before, where you hang around, shall we say, to the bottom, and every time you go, let's just wait a couple of seconds. Things disappeared. I want to put the laser pointer near the bottom. Annoying, because you get this pop-up come up. So what you can do is you can take that away by going up atop to the URL. I'm using Windows 10 Chrome Beta 70, I think, preview. And I'm going to type the word preview. That's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to hit enter. Then what you'll find when it loads is the similar thing, that if I go up to full screen, this time what I get is a very skinny little grey bar at the bottom, which I can use a laser pointer or a mouse pointer, and I can go right the way to the bottom, look, but I don't get any pop-up over valuable text that I've made a slide on. So that was that. If you are using to advance through, of course, I'm using a wheel mouse, or I could click with spacebar and I can go through. The thing is that that is the classic, I would say, way of using Google Slides, and I'm going to show you some different ones because I want to be more open about it. I was typing edit in the top to get back to the editor. Right, now the thing that I found by accident the other day, and it's pretty important to actually go with this, he says while waiting for the left banner thing to load, which it looks like in memory it is loading now, is this. Now watch this. You'll notice at the top here, and this is why I'm talking about view full screen, but what we are doing really, if you add up, there's a bit of background here, if you add up all these little buttons, for example, slide means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you add them up, I've calculated that there's probably buttons, menus, just without going to the sub-menus, 122 different things that you could possibly click on, and that's without slide animations or transitions. My point being that if you want to do a talk and get the message out, your lesson or your talk or your pitch or whatever it is, then if you used something simplistic like a chalkboard and a piece of chalk, I would argue that you've got the board itself and the little piece of ledge at the bottom with a piece of chalk on it. That is one visible thing to say, hey, pick up the darn chalk and use it, one thing. So what I'm trying to say is that getting a message out and making a presentation or talking to someone else visually should not be 122 odd buttons. So what I'm trying to get to, using these things on the left hand side to demonstrate, and you'll see I'm talking about a watch in a second or two, and that is simple, and that is if you go up to, let me show the top slide, view full screen, right? View full screen, and it goes like that. And if you bring that up to full screen as well, you'll notice we've got something really interesting on the screen, and that is that you're using Google Slides. I'm obviously recording this to speak to you and to the people at YouTube when this video is going to be uploaded to. But more importantly, what we've got, I would say, when I've used this thing in red at the bottom, what message are you trying to get out? Is it an open message or is it a closed message? And it's a lot of things to do with control and trust. So to demonstrate just one of those things, as if I went on here and I said, look, here is a picture of a watch. I actually own this watch, and it's like mega useful to me because it's analog and it's got a bezel on it, and it's very cheap, look, because you can see clearly on the left hand side that I can swap in and out of these things. But if you were trying to sell this watch, or I don't know, talk about the watch, you may wish to go to a full screen presentation and not show anything, especially say the make or the price, until you are good and ready. maybe that is a thing that you don't trust your audience, that if you showed them too much, they might walk off or they don't want to look and listen to you, which I think is a huge shame. But if you did an open talk in this format, meaning the menu on the left-hand side, notice I'm not using any transition because I can physically see, this is a previous video slides I did by the way, I can jump in and jump out and hold a very open discussion in this format. If I hover up top and get rid of the full screen, of course I've got a bookmark bar thing and the URL, and I'm back in Chrome, which is easy to see, not forgetting our little fella on the left hand side, which is the Explore bottom right. I'm not going to click it, which brings up different designs. So what I'm getting to is, by using view full screen, it's a really nice way of doing away with the unwanted menus. Now there are some separate options to that. If I press escape on the keyboard, what I get is the file edit, the title, all of the normal buttons that turn up. Can you see how distracting that is for the audience? It looks like you're not ready or something. However, if I wanted to hide the menus top right, which of course is this third bullet point, then I can come up and I can hit the hide the menus, Control Shift F, and I can do that. Now I could do that, but it also brings up still the forward and back and some brief edit buttons at the top. If I go F11 or full screen or whatever it's called on Chrome, I get this, which is very similar to the one that we had previously, but you've still got the ability to add boxes and bits and bobs at the top. Not so great because it's not a full presentation mode. You've got to be careful with this, a mini presentation mode. If I wanted to come off of that, I could bring that back down again, then I get my full bits and pieces. On the right hand side I've got calendar, keep and tasks in the normal way, and of course comments and various stuff. So right, hide the menus top right I've just covered. Can you see where this is going? We're using Google Slides in a very, very different way here. So Chrome full screen, I think is pretty obvious that you go up top right and you hit I keep saying F11, I think it's F11, isn't it? And the other thing is about, let's go Chrome full screen, speaker notes grab handle. This is really, really useful, because if I go back to the thing that I was talking about, which was full screen, there you go. Here I am talking to you. Now if I go, and I don't, again, you can't cover all these hundreds of little buttons and bits and bobs, but if you go near the bottom, you've got a grab handle, and you can bring that grab handle up and show the audience, not yourself, because these are the speaker notes. So you might sit there and go, I'm hiding this because I'm making a presentation. I'm talking really in an authoritative way to my audience. Yeah, fine, but I've been so many years in the classroom. I don't work that way. So you could, in this example, I put down here, you can stick a ton of text in here. I hardly ever use this aerial bit for numbers or phrases, that I could possibly, remember. By the way, you can add or change a font size too. I did not know that. 12 font looks like that. 36 font looks like that. And what I've actually done to exploit this area, and exploit is a really big deal, because exploitation in education means that you learn something. So if you were going to learn to, say, count 1 to 10, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, to 10, or 10, 9, 8, or 2, 4, 6, 8, or 1, 3, 5, 7. You're exploiting it every single way, so you learn. So what I'm getting at, if I looked at this thing about it's not that one, using a bezel, what I've done is I've added in this whole idea. So I could say, look, here's a watch. It's a really cheap watch, and which is a lovely watch though, and it's waterproof to 100 meters, but it's got this rotatable bezel. What can you use a bezel for, everybody? And you can bring it up like this, look, and I've used this Men's Health, things, I googled it, and there are about 9 different uses of how to use a bezel. But can you see the way that I've used this in the speaker's notes? I am definitely not going to read in my talk about all the darn things, but in this example I can bring it up and I can say, look, we can talk about just that, but in the slide of a mouse or a scroll or whatever, you've got all this text. Can you see where we're going with that? Okay, so the next one, he says, wanting to keep this video as short as possible, but hey, I'm not going to lie to you or to the audience if I'm trying to teach people and you're trying to learn, Because at the end of the day, we've done speaker notes, grab handle, zoom, slide options. Yeah, this is really interesting because when you go down to, let's say I was talking about this, and bearing in mind that we're going to be, interesting. Where's the menus gone? How do I get the menus back, people? Can't think. I think it's escape, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. Look, so if I wanted to talk to you or talk to whatever, and I wanted to really zoom in close to that, all watches have bezels. Look, but if I wanted to hold that there, but I wanted to go right in as close as I could, all I need to do is go View, 200%, and then you can see that the way I've got a separate menu. So I've now got the top of this bezel on the watch going. Plus that's really, really useful, because if you presented, you wouldn't get that, exactly as is. And I can go in and in and in to this. Can you see the benefit of this? There's our picture of the watch, which is the slide. You couldn't do that just presenting in the normal way. If I presented, look again, then I go in and I've got this. Can I do any zoom options? Exit for, no, I don't think I can. That, by the way, is just a thing I was mucking around with. If you don't know this, you can use an analog watch, which I've started to use quite a lot, to show that if you point the hour hand towards the sun and you align the 12, and then you bisect the area between the 12 and wherever the hour hand is, that's south in the northern hemisphere, and therefore the opposite, in other words, the other direction is north. But what I'm trying to get to is, if I wanted to talk about this in presentation mode, it is very big screen auditorium. But if I wanted to come down, as you can appreciate, and come down and talk about something, quite intelligence driven, to do with, say, bezels, then I've got a different view option. I hope that's making sense, really, because I would like to say, oops, we can't get in there. Get back. Get back to where you are. Notice that I went to view screen 49, but if I bring that out to there, and then I do, you notice that it's gone to fit 83%. That's pretty interesting if you want to get ahead in your classroom, your university, your workplace, your one-to-one, your screen recordings for YouTube. My fan goes to, or my vote, should we say, for view full screen, which was view full screen, summing up, and also the speaker notes grab handle, where I've started to muck about. That's not really true, actually. I've done hard work on this. Research to say, here is one of my favourite things locally in England here, the red kite, which is a magnificent bird of prey with a wingspan of about 2 meters. But more importantly, I've got, top left, the note to say that smjfalconry.co.uk up north in England. That's where that photo's come from. But can you see the way I've slipped the link actually in the speaker notes area? So leave a question if you have this about view options in Google Slides. If you're still here, this is 30 minutes, and goodbye.